We have enjoyed this interaction immensely, and let us tell you why. We're out here on the leading edge with you, and together we've gone to places that we have not been before with the clarity and the specificity as what has happened here. But there's something even more than that that is satisfying about this, and that is the movement in energy as a result of your newfound understanding or wanting to understand the concept of calibration. You know about calibration in terms of your electronics and tuning your guitars and all kinds of things. And we want you to understand that you are natural harmonizers, because you know that you are vibration. You've always been vibration. The law of attraction has always been the harmonic factor. And so you were born wanting to harmonize. So as you move around with one another in your environments, the desire to harmonize is so strong that you translate it, bless your hearts, and nothing has gone wrong, but you've translated your desire to harmonize into your desire to please. Your desire to please others who got there first, who have been around for a while, who also want you to please them. And so you sort of have trained each other into a response to each other of harmonizing or pleasing that isn't serving you not that well, because you've called each other, not meaning to. You've trained others and they've trained you away from your own guidance system, to the point that, and this is a pretty dramatic point, don't you think? To the point that something that feels good to you that you want to do, you don't do because somebody else doesn't think it's a good idea. Don't you think that's interesting? That you have rather easily, and we get why, given up your guidance system for someone else's guidance. And the other person's guidance, lovely as they are and well-meaning as they mostly are, can't be trusted in this sense. They haven't walked in your shoes. They don't know who you are coming in. They haven't lived the life that has caused you to calibrate your vortex. They can guide themselves, but they can't guide you. And your desire to please them has caused you to replace your own sensitivity to what feels good to you, to a sensitivity to the reactions of others. We want you to feel with us the emotions of alignment that happen to you often, and we want you to identify them and then isolate them and then calibrate to them. To acknowledge that, you know how when an eye just occurs to you and you feel a sort of feeling of elation about that, ride that wave, stay with that. Don't be quick to ask the questions, well, how am I going to do that? Or what would so-and-so think about that? Just let that feeling of elation be enough to call you into more thought about it until you can feel the increase in the momentum of that feeling. When you find yourself in a discussion, you joined a group, doesn't matter why, maybe you were invited, maybe you were assigned, maybe you just were supposed to be there. You find yourself in some situation where the conversation turns to something that gives you that uncomfortable feeling in your stomach. So acknowledge that in that moment, without meaning to, you're being calibrated to something, maybe a problem, maybe it's real, maybe it's something that you think is worth giving your attention to, but know this also. You are being calibrated, or you are allowing yourself to calibrate yourself away from your true power, from your true knowing, and from who you really are. Just acknowledge that, even if you don't feel like saying, gotta go, or oh, I just remembered there's someplace I need to be, or I don't like being here with you guys in this negative conversation. We're not encouraging that. But we are encouraging that you notice the difference in the way you are feeling, and that from this point forward, you begin asking yourself, what kinds of situations, what people in your life already, what kind of television programs, what kind of movies, what kinds of things that you do in your life, what things are calibrating you upward and what things are calibrating you downward. Just begin noticing that. And then what will begin to happen with you is that as your awareness of how you feel becomes more constant, more apparent to you, what will happen is you'll reach more and more for what feels better. So you'll be in tune with who you really are. So more of those thoughts from your inner being will be streaming to you, and more awareness on your part that this really is something good to follow. And then off you go. People who are watching you won't know for sure what they're seeing. They'll notice that you seem to feel better more of the time. They'll notice that you're happier more of the time. They'll notice that more things are going your way more of the time. They may even ask you about what you're doing. And here's our strongest point. Don't try to explain to them what you're doing until first you're sure what you're doing. And next, they actually ask you. Don't try to impose your happily ever after living on anybody else. They have to be ready. They have to be asking too. We began this conversation today by saying to you that you are more than you see in these physical bodies. And we think that now we are at the end of the conversation, that you're beginning to understand what we mean by that. You are source energy in physical form, and source energy has no resistance. But you are unique. You're not source energy singularly. You didn't remain non-physically focused. You said, I'll go forth and I will explore new, and I will experience contrast, and I will ask for more. And your inner being said, and we will remain here, focused constantly on what you're asking for, your guiding light, so that you will feel the power of who you have just become. That's the thing that we want you to understand most of all. You are in a state of constant becoming. You're constantly becoming. You're constantly becoming more of who you really are, or more of something else. But this is the way it all blends together. Because you are human, and because there is resistance, and because you're willing to focus within it, you are able to calibrate what isn't wanted in order to produce what is wanted. Can you understand that this is what the evolution of all species is about? Can you sort of feel that this is what the expansion of the universe is about? And can you understand how good it is that you made that choice to come and have this experience? But you never intended to make a career out of step one. You never intended to try to find influence in yourself or in others to gather together in those piles of disconnect and then convince other people to live your way. You never ever intended to live conditional love. You knew that there would be plenty of conditions, but you intended to live pure, non-physical love, and then to create loving conditions. And that's a distinction that's sometimes hard to hear, because good conditions can make you love, but if you get conditionally focused, then you'll find bad ones that will keep you from loving. If you're conditionally focused, if you let the conditions control how you feel, then it's going to be a sort of rocky ride. But if you can feel what it feels like to be in the true power of your whole love, and then you can demonstrate that through your life experience, now you are not a conditional lover. Now you are a lover who creates conditions. So, is it a good idea to look for positive aspects? Yes. Is looking for positive aspects conditional? Yes, it is. But we're asking you to do the other before you do that. In other words, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. But now you know why. Now you're not lost. Now you're not confused. You see what we mean? We've enjoyed this more than words can say. And for now, we are complete.